Giving. And my topic today is the reciprocity of giving. The reciprocity of giving. I know the sound seems like it's okay in here now. It's a little loud to me. I don't know if it's in the monitors or not. But I haven't even gotten started yet, and it feels loud. and I don't want to blow people's hair back before it's all over. So the reciprocity of giving. I don't know about you, but I've had some feelings lately. I had a lot of big feelings. There's just so much going on, from the election to the pipeline and Standing Rock and Fidel and Syria and your family and Thanksgiving. I mean, there's just been a lot. Okay, let's just breathe. Let's just breathe. And what I want to say is, now is not the time to throw in the towel. Now is not the time to give up hope. Now is not the time to be in despair. Now, granted, it is the fall, and it is the winter, and we have like seasons. And it's important that we honor those seasons. And it's okay, particularly this time of the year. It's really known as a time of grief, as well as celebration in the holidays. And that's very natural. And there's an escalated number of people who cross the veil in the fall and in the winter, which brings up some of that grief, that reminder of those things. I'm one of them. It's a birthday today of a former partner of mine that I did her memorial service, like a few years or so ago. And it's just like that. And there's this thing called Thanksgiving. Okay, and Thanksgiving is a constant state of being. I want you to breathe that in. It's a constant state of being. It isn't contingent upon everything that's going on and happening out there. You hear me speak sometimes about the difference between being happy and joy-filled. See, happy, root word hap, English word circumstance. We're happy when the circumstances meet our liking. But joy is something deeper than that. Joy is transcendent. I contend you don't even really know true joy until you can be joyful when you're not happy. Listen to what I said. When you can be joy-filled when you are absolutely out of your mind with the circumstances. It's like, that's when you know true joy. Okay? Well, it's the same thing with Thanksgiving. There is something about the attitude of gratitude, which is a decoder, and it allows you to see possibility. I don't care whether it's your one-on-one relationships, whether it's your body temple and whatever it is that's going on there, if it's your financial affairs. The more negative you get and the more judgmental and critical, the worse off it appears to be. Yes? And there is something about that shift in your attitude towards gratitude that uplifts you, keeps you from going on that downward spiral down, and actually enables you to see things that you were missing before. To see what you were missing before. Think about those times maybe you were in conflictual relationships with somebody. And you know how ungrateful we get when that happens. When we stop even seeing people, we just see who they were, or we just see what they have done, or whatever our story or our narrative is. And it's a downward spiral. It's a downward spiral. There is something about Thanksgiving, the attitude of gratitude, before the day starts. You don't wait to just look around to see what's going on, it's happening. if you bring it with you. I speak sometimes about the difference between into and unto. When you step into something, you are mindful of how that which you are moving into is going to impact you. Okay? And we deliberately go into things, like go into relationships, into careers, into educational programs, because we know something's going to happen to us. But there's a thing called unto. And unto is the reverse. Unto is where you take you with you and you transform what you're stepping into. Where the environment shifts by what you're bringing. This is an unto moment. We're at an unto moment in history. Let's not get stuck on what it is we're about to move into. This is an unto. This is where we bring the best of who we are and the best of what we know into the circumstances to allow it to transform. I'm talking about reciprocity here. And if some of you might have noticed over these past few months, I keep upping the ante. I keep upping the ante on this community and the expectations of what we can do or need to do. Yes? Okay. Now is where the rubber hits the road. We either believe our principles or we don't. We believe it or we don't. We believe in oneness or we don't. We believe in fairness and justice and possibility, or you don't. But there's no cutting it, slicing it, dicing it up. You believe in oneness, or you don't. Just breathe that in. The reciprocity. We have to give what we want to receive. We have to give what you want to receive. You have to give what you want to receive. Now, that may not always seem fair, but it means you have to take the initiative. You have to be the first one. A lot of us are complaining about the things we're not getting. Or we're complaining about what everybody else is doing. But judgment begets judgment. Judgment begets judgment. I'm not saying be a doormat. I'm not saying just let the world walk all over you. I'm saying just the opposite. What I am saying is if you really want to be a change agent, if you really want to make a difference in the world, then you have to use the principles and the processes you want to see on the end. If you want to see peace on the end, then you have to do transformation peacefully. Okay? If you want to see love and unity on the back end, then love and unity has to be part of the process that you use to get there. When I'm doing conflict resolution professionally, I'll tell people sometimes you have a decision to make. Before we enter into this process, you have a decision to make. Do you want to work with this person or not? Do you actually want to be in a relationship with this person or not? This is a decision you have to make before we start this process. Because if you kill them in the process, they're not going to be there on the back end. If you kill them in the process, they're not going to be there. This is where the rubber hits the road. The reciprocity of giving and receiving. The giving is not always about material things. Everything is energy. Our thoughts are a gift. Our emotions are a gift. Our attention is a gift. Our vision is a gift. Our possibility is a gift. And the world is needing that more than anything right now. It is needing all of us to go to a place of deep, deep, deep intention. We are at a crossroads. I can hear Martin Luther King in my head now, talking about how he was fighting for the soul of America. We're at a crossroads now. And this has got nothing to do with red or blue. This has to do with vision. This has to do with possibility. This has to do with what kind of people do we want to be. This has to do with our heart space. This has to do what do we see and what do we want. There's opportunity here. There's opportunity like I have never seen in this moment, if we will seize it. An unprecedented opportunity to break through generations of stuff if we are just willing to have the heart space. That means give what we want to receive. If you don't want people separating from you, don't separate from them. You want people to see and appreciate you and value you. You have to see and appreciate and value them. Listen to what I'm saying. That may not always be easy. I remember the first time I really, really got this in my bones. It was a number of years ago. I think I told this story once before. It was a number of years ago, and I was in this lawsuit. It's very, very public discrimination lawsuit in Los Angeles that wound up setting precedent for the inclusion of sexual orientation in the California Civil Rights Bill back in 1984. Big case, won at the appellate level. Supreme Court refused to overturn it, and it's certified, it's in the law books. It was a unanimous decision at the appellate court. This really, really big win. And it was against a restaurant that refused to serve my former partner and I in quote unquote the romantic section. So my mother comes to visit me for lunch. In my whole entire life, there's only been this one time that my mother came to visit me for lunch. I'm working in the 10 twin triangular towers for Prudential, Century City, Los Angeles area. I'm in real estate investments for Prudential, investing pension fund monies into extremely large real estate projects. So she comes to me, this is the middle of the lawsuit while we're losing. We have not won now. And there's all kind of boycotts going on against this restaurant. And my mother explains to me how her Women's Christian Council had just had their banquet at this restaurant. I couldn't breathe. No, I could not breathe. First off, it was so obscure. Like, why that restaurant? It was kind of close to downtown, nowhere near the church. The church was like in Watts. It's like, what? And I'm listening to her, and I can't breathe. I can't eat. I'm choking. And everything in me is just, I want to just reel into her. How dare you? Are you kidding me? I mean, this thing was in the newspapers. The cameras would go down and take pictures. It even wound up in Ms. Magazine, Jet Magazine. I mean, it's like, you got to be kidding me. And just as I was about to let her have it, I thought about it. And I thought, what am I fighting for? I am fighting for the right for anybody to go to any restaurant and be served anywhere that they want to. That's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm fighting for. And she should have just as much right to patronize that as I have to sue them. Are you with me? Just as much right. It was like this, that, oh my God, I have to give what I want to receive. Oh my God. I have to give her the freedom that I am seeking, or I'm going to be a hypocrite. Are you with me? That was hard. That was really, really hard. But I thought about it, and it was actually rare for me to go to such a heterosexual, I'm be honest with you, restaurant for a big celebration. I didn't make the reservations. My former partner did. I'd have been in West Hollywood, or Santa Monica, or someplace where I knew they wanted my dollar. And the point of it was that I didn't want to hear her mouth about the restaurants I usually go to. And I didn't have a right to say anything about hers. Are you with me? Okay. I'm talking now, baby, where the rubber hits the road. The reciprocity of giving what we want to receive. Okay. I don't care whether it's your family or whether it's the nation. If you're being as ugly back as you think people are being to you, that's just more ugly. And it doesn't matter what the ugly is about. So here's this irony, is that whomever feels the most oppressed, trespassed upon, marginalized, it becomes on their backs. It's on their backs to reverse things. Is it fair? No. But it's on their backs. Forgiveness is in the power of the ones who've been trespassed upon. And it isn't until that shift is made from feeling victimized. See, you can be victimized, but that doesn't mean you have to have the identity of a victim. See, it's when something says, I am more than this. It's when something says, I'm not going to allow whatever is going on to give me, to take the power over me and change my identity of what I think is possible. And furthermore, as I am breaking through and receiving my power, I'm going to redeem you. Because the people who abuse are as hurt by their abuse. The oppressors are just as oppressed by their own oppression. Okay? So I don't care what the circumstance is, it isn't until we rise above. Ask Nelson Mandela. Ask the Dalai Lama. Ask Desmond Tutu. Ask Malala. This is the way that it works. but it takes courage and it takes strength. It takes the capacity not to split in your mind. It means to stay with an open heart and that sense of thanksgiving and possibility and how there's always good and that everybody and everything is redeemable. That I am not going to withdraw my love to punish you, because when I withdraw my love, then I'm less. I can hear King now saying, there is nothing that any man could ever do to make me stoop so low as to hate him. Because when I begin to hate, I become as low as the thing that I'm hating. Okay. Are you willing? We receive with the same manner and generosity with which we give. People misunderstand that. They think it's a tit for tat. Like I will get back just what I put out. You receive in the same manner, in the same attitude. So you give forgiveness graciously, you will receive forgiveness graciously. You can't give forgiveness graciously, you can't receive forgiveness graciously. You won't even be able to receive your own forgiveness for your own self if you can't give it graciously. Okay. You give support graciously, you're able to receive support graciously. See? If you're a person that's stingy with your giving, stingy with your generosity, then you will always be in fear of not having enough. You will always be in fear of not being supported. But if you are a person that gives generously, if you are a person who supports what supports you, there is an anticipation of being supported. There's an openness of being supported. You're not in shame about being in need. You actually put it out there and give people the privilege and the opportunity to support you just the way that you have supported them. It's the same manner in which. And how exciting it is to know that we can set a new tone. How exciting it is that we can set a new vibration. Because I'm telling you right now, we got to go back to the beginning. We have to go back all the way to the beginning of our intent. And I am not talking about make America great again when I say back to the beginning. What I am saying is that never before in history has there ever been a superpower that is multi-ethnic, that is multi-faith, that's come from all corners of the earth. It hasn't happened. The Japanese are Japanese. The French are French. The English are English. Okay. And when this nation was built, this nation was never, ever, ever, ever built with the intention of being multi-faith or multi-ethnic. No. You can look at all of the infrastructure from the beginning on, which is why it feels like we keep trying to squeeze it open to let somebody else in. Oh, can we get black folks in there? Oof. Can we squeeze women in there? Oof. Can we get people with disabilities in there? Can we get the Muslims in there? Can we get the gays in there? Can we get Look, you can't keep squeezing this thing open. In consciousness, we have to go back to the beginning. So we are no longer just doing our own little individual silos, just like I mentioned, where there's a sense that we are all moving forward. All. I think it's wonderful that people are supporting folks at Standing Rock. But don't support people at Standing Rock just because you think that you are supporting the native peoples for their sacred land. Yes, that's true. But this is about the earth. This is about all of us. You're not doing anybody a favor. This is about us. Can you feel what a different mentality it is if we said we all need to show up for the planet? And yes, we're willing to help who's ever on the front line on all of our behalf, but we're not just doing something for somebody else. Do you feel the difference in that? That we're not just here trying to help, quote unquote, the homeless. Why are there people who don't have homes? Stand up for a second, Susie. I told you a story not too long ago. This is Susie Herrera. And she wrote a beautiful, beautiful book called Mango Elephants in the Sun. It is really, really good. And it's her experience in Cameroon, Africa, when she was with the Peace Corps. You can sit down now. I'm not going to have you stand the whole time. And she was saying how they thought all of Americans were wealthy. And she was trying to explain to them that not all Americans were wealthy. And as evidence of that, she was talking about people who were homeless. And they couldn't get it. They just had no place to put homeless. Because they were like, well, don't the other people have homes? Like, don't people have homes? Well, yeah, people. Well, how could there be some people like just out on the streets when there are homes? It's like, and that's what I mean when I say go back to the beginning. That there's so many things that we have accepted as just being a part of it. Collateral damage or exclusion. We've never had the intent. This stuff about undocumented workers, we have never had the intent. This nation has always been built on the backs of labor it did not pay for. This isn't new. We just changed the faces. This is why I'm saying if we start off with a new beginning, a new reciprocity, where we are actually giving the stuff that we want to receive, that we are putting out the visions that we want to see, speaking up and living the world that we want to live, not just denigrating or talking about what somebody else is doing. You don't get what you pray for, you get what you give your attention to. And as we are seeing now, everything that we've been giving our attention to is manifesting. We need to give our attention to our visions so we can receive that. Give our attention to what you want to receive. What you receive depends on what you put out. It's not just give me, give me, give me. What are we putting out that's going to result? Not just how hard we're going to work, but what are we putting out in consciousness that comes back? Yes?